Go here. We got it there. All right. So it looks like we're good to go. And there. Again, good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of WNCR-TV Now as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Obviously, it will be a very short show this morning as I'm just getting into the studio to talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. It is 22 minutes past the hour. Phone lines open for you at 252-407-8432. That's 252-407-8432 this morning. Let me do a couple of things here. Let's see. Couple things situated here. Okay. Got that situated. Oh, don't forget you too can share the Facebook Live video by going to our WNCR TV Facebook page and clicking on share. Again, a very brief. Where is it at? Right there. Good morning. Okay. So that's that. All right. So 24 minutes past the hour of WNCR TV now. Arrests were made in the homicide. It was in MLK Park. I did see that posted on yesterday. What's that? Okay. See if we can locate that as well. I think we actually talked about those arrests that were made there in the MLK Park already, and I think there was an individual who was charged with the shooting in at Buffalo Wild Wings too at 215, I think, Ring Road or something like that. So yeah, let me see. Says an investigation to the July 13th double homicide continues. Detectives with the Rocky Mountain Police Department have made 2 additional arrests. A first-degree warrant was served on 22-year-old Devontae Dales of Rocky Mountain in connection with the shooting death of 19-year-old Rio Steele. Dale was initially arrested on July 14th on unrelated warrants, and he was already in custody in Nash County Jail. He was formally served with the murder warrant on July the 15th and remains held without bond. Detectives also charged 20-year-old Travion Scarborough of Sharpsburg with first-degree murder in the death of 20-year-old Raylene Dickens. Scarborough was arrested at the 200 block of Kate Drive in Sharpsburg in assistance with the Sharpsburg Police Department and the Rocky Mountain Police Department Special Response Team. He's currently being held without bond in Nash County Jail. So those 2 individuals are additionally charged with the death in MLK Park. You know, again, I think it has been very apparent that the policing that we have in Rocky Mount now, with the advancement of technology that's been invested into the force and I guess the fullness of the staff and all these contributing factors have really over the last couple of years led to quick arrests and a gathering of evidence for particular cases. And so that has been pretty good for the Rocky Mount Police Department, to say the least. So, and again, not to, let's see. So that's that. Oh, let me remind you about this too. That the Community Development Center community event will be this Saturday, July 19th, from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. It's going to be at 130 South Franklin Street at Rocky Mount. In the parking lot, it's going to be music, bouncing houses, and games for kids, free hot dogs and drinks, food, truck vendors, police and fire department, community resource giveaways. Come out for a day of fun, food, and family. Again, that's going to be this Saturday from 10 until 1 p.m. right here in downtown Rocky Mount, North Carolina. So look forward to seeing folks there. Again, going to be a great time there for that. Again, I didn't realize how much stuff they do for people in the community as well, and the longevity of that organization has made a major impact to the lives of people. People dealing with healthcare issues and etc. Miss Georgia Lynch has started an organization some years ago and continue to be a service of the community. So we appreciate people like her that do that give their time, effort, and attention. And if you need more information, of course, the phone number is 252-350-8320. That's 252-350-8320 is the number to call to contact her in regards to the event for this weekend. But certainly be sure to go out there. Yesterday was National Hot Dog Day, so there were a number of people doing hot dog related things. And of course, at Pop's Diner, we had spaghetti and mac and cheese and some other stuff, green beans and some yams. And I tell you, I went by there and got me a plate. And I tell you, it was delicious. And not because it's Pop's Diner, but just because it was. I will say that. Tomorrow is Friday the 18th. It wraps up the final day of filing. So somewhere there about around 3 o'clock-ish or 2 o'clock-ish, the books will be officially certified and closed, and those names will appear on the ballot as registered. The 15th, I think, was the last day to drop out of the municipal race if you did plan on doing that. Never understood why one would file and then decide they would drop out, but, that happens, obviously. And so that is what is going on there. But again, tomorrow is the final day for registering to participate in this municipal election. Some municipalities do have primaries, and technically Rocky Mount is election / possible primary because they operate in an instant runoff situation. So that if a person does not get 50% of the vote plus one, you advance to a runoff. And so what that essentially means is that there was 1,000 votes. An individual would have to get 501 votes in order to be declared the winner. However, if the person gets 498 votes and the second runner-up doesn't decide to call for a runoff, then that person is also the winner. So it does not necessarily, the 50 plus one just basically puts you at a position where a runoff is not callable. But the highest vote getter actually is and can be declared the winner of that race. And so that's essentially what could happen in that situation. And so any of the 6 candidates who are running in Ward 3 would be hoping to get 50% of the vote plus one additional vote in order to stave off a runoff. But otherwise, it's a possibility that after October the 7th, that 2 people could advance to another ballot in November to do it again. And Rocky Mount's most recent elections continue to do just that when dealing with municipal elections, should I say, not the midterm elections and all that kind of stuff. What I did look at is voting history of individuals and who's running, and I thought it was quite interesting of some inconsistencies in voting. I do think, as I was talking to somebody yesterday on Franklin Street, a lot of people are complaining about the status of our government today, but many of which did not participate in the voting process and chose to opt out of it, but now also choosing to complain about it. And that is just crazy at the end of the day, right? That's just crazy, but that's what it is. That those things are transpiring or taking place, and so as the conversation yesterday said, you just go ahead and close your mouth. Go ahead and close your mouth because you had an opportunity to participate in the voting process, and you elected to stay home or say that your vote didn't matter. And so now we're dealing with what we're dealing with at this particular time, and so therefore, just hush. Now I don't know if that is the exact thing to do. I think we actually could take that energy and talk about why we need to be consistent voters and not inconsistent voters. So I think that is one thing that we could work on tremendously. Hey, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I understand that several of the candidates that's running for Ward 3 is Republicans.
No.
And none of them are Republicans.
Only one registered Republican is running for Ward 3 that I'm aware of. One independent and the rest are Democrats.
Okay. They said several, and I was like, I said, that's odd. But I just encourage people to know who they're voting for. And like I said earlier, if they haven't made any significant investment or being involved with some of the things that's going on within the city, I don't see why they're trying to run anyway. Unfortunately, there's a lot to be done in each ward. And if you don't bring attention to some of the things, I just wonder, where your interest is in the beginning. And I would like for the community to know that my plans were to run for Ward 2. However, Councilman Blackwell did file, so I decided not to oppose him, basically, because, I just don't do that. If you have a candidate that's already running and has served for a number of years, it's hard to beat an incumbent. But nevertheless, I was going to if he were not. But I understand that he has filed, so I withdrew my interest yesterday. And, excuse me, and talking about the crime here in the city, and listening to WHIG, their party that they had where the fight started or the confrontation started, it was over 100 people there. I think our city needs to have something in place. If it's more than 20 at a gathering, you need to file for a permit. And if an individual files for a permit for a large group of people, then they need to assign at least 2 police officers at that event. Not to say that they're not going to move from that particular location to go some other place, but if they're there, they're at least going to hear something, and they can inform other officers as to what is actually going on. Mm-hmm. So I really hope they think about that. Start saying you have to have a permit if you're going to have over 20 people at a gathering. And do you know what is going on in Nashville today for a special call meeting?
I do not. I inquired about that, and they said they didn't know either. So that was quite interesting.
Are they going to, well, I guess they will call the news. Well, can you be there as a reporter?
Sure, you can be there. If there is, so I didn't even see any notice on this. I went to the Nash County website. Well, not Nash County. I didn't go there. I went to the Nash County Facebook page, and I did not see a posting of a special call meeting. However, I did reach out to a couple of the Nash County commissioners. They did confirm it was, in fact, a meeting. But as it relates to what it was about, they said they don't know. And
okay.
So if they do take action, in a, or if they are discussing an actionable item, unless it's economic development, there may be or need to facilitate a public vote on something. And so they would have to come back in open session and vote. However, if they go into closed session for economic activity or client attorney privilege and things of that nature, it may just be a full closed session meeting. They come back in open session, adjourn the meeting, and no need to share anything with folks. So I really don't know what it is. Again, I don't see, even I'm looking on their website right now too, I don't see anything about a meeting, which is interesting too. But I did hear of it, and I did confirm with two commissioners that they do in fact have one. But where that is, where that was posted, is beyond me, and I could have just missed it somewhere.
Right. And the other question I wanted to ask this morning, if you have a city councilman that becomes incapacitated and can no longer hold that particular seat, what do they do at that point?
If you have a city council person that becomes incapacitated and no longer can serve in that seat, when they would say they, who is a they you're referring to do what?
Do they get another person to sit in his seat, or do they just leave it vacant until the next election?
That would be up to the remaining city council people because city council does have the right to remove a council person, right? And so that would, that they would have to weigh those options out as to do they vote to replace the individual because they know that a person isn't coming back, or do they operate in the thing of faith and believing there's going to be a turnaround at the individual, and so therefore you keep the seat in that individual's name until, and I guess timing also, because if it's close to municipal election, it would just play its part out that way. So it just depends on timing and depends on what the matter is. Is it a temporary incapacity, or would it be more of a permanent incapacity? So it just depends.
I'm thinking of permanent.
A permanent incapacity. I would think that it would be in the best interest of the city then to have that person removed from that seat if it's a permanent incapacity, because you do want to have adequate representation in all the wards.
Okay, so do they have a special election, or
it would be an appointment of that individual from the council, and then that person would then have to run in the next municipal election, whether it's their term or not. Similar to when Richard got appointed, it was not his time to run in 2019. I think it was 2019, whatever it was. Yeah, 2019. But he had to run because he had to run to fill the unexpired term. So the city can only appoint you to the next municipal election, but it cannot appoint you for a whole 4-year term, if that makes sense. So only a 2-year term could they appoint you to.
Okay. I was thinking about that yesterday, and I was like, I wonder how this process goes. But anyway, I thank you for the information, but I do hope that they consider changing the ordinance for large gatherings, or anybody that's going to have a party with over 20 or any type of gathering, to say that you have to have a permit. And they need to put some strict guidelines on that permit, because some of this shooting that's going on, I think, will be deterred. Not to say that they wouldn't go to some other location like they did at this particular party, but I feel if officers are there, they're going to hear something, and all this killing can be stopped. And just to think, you talking about people 20 years old, well, why they got a gun? How did they get a gun? That's my question.
Yeah.
How old do you have to be in order to get a gun permit? I
think it's 18 to get a gun permit. Now I think you can be gifted a gun at any age. So I think a father or a grandfather, anybody could gift their infant grandbaby a gun. Now, it's their gun until they get a responsible age to handle it. But I think The purchase of a gun is different, but the gifting of a gun, I think, is. I don't think there's no law about how old you got to be to actually have a gun. That's a great question because I don't know the answer to that. So I gotta look that up.
Well, my question is, most of the time you got to be 18 years of age to be considered. Well, I thought, though, 21.
Well, think about this.
Yeah.
There are young people who go duck hunting and shooting with their parents all day long, and they're operating guns out in the forest or the woods, going hunting, and they're definitely under the age of 18 or 21 for that matter. And so, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I can see under the supervision of a parent, and they're teaching them safety habits. But these little boys is running around like it's the OK Corral. It just don't make sense, and we're just killing off each other. And I really don't think that law enforcement really cares. I really don't. They're just doing a job. Because I feel that there is something that should be put in place that's going to work for people who want to own a gun. I really do. You got all these brilliant people sitting behind desks drinking coffee. Somebody need to come up with something.
Now, going back to what you said, it says federal law requires individuals to be 21 years old to purchase a handgun from a licensed dealer. Federal law requires individuals to be 18 years old to purchase a rifle or shotgun from a licensed dealer. Says in North Carolina laws aligns with federal laws for the purchase of handguns and long guns from licensed dealers. North Carolina law also allows individuals 18 and older to carry open handguns or long guns without a permit, provided they can legally own a firearm. Or to obtain a concealed permit, it must be 21. There are some exceptions, such as minors for possession of firearms under adult supervision in specific circumstances. So
why the two different ages? I mean, it's so confusing because actually, when you really look at it, your mental status is much higher at 21 than 18. So why isn't the law consistent with age?
It looks like it is. It says the federal law requires individuals to be 21 years old to purchase a handgun from a licensed dealer. The federal law requires individuals to be 18 years to purchase a rifle or shotgun. So you're talking about different styles of weapons.
Wait a minute. But don't all overkill. See, that's what I'm talking about.
But
whether it's a pistol, a handgun, or rifle, or whatever, it's all something that is a deadly weapon. So why is the age limit so differently?
I look at an 18-year-old with a rifle and shotgun. That's something you're going to kind of be hard to conceal on a person, right? I guess you could wear a long trench coat and then you start running, right? But
there you go.
But other than that, I mean, a handgun you can it's more concealable than a rifle or shotgun. So I guess that would be the difference. But the federal law and state law are similar in that situation about the type of handguns and the age restriction there.
People that write the law, that's what I said. They put these if, as, buts, whereas, and where if, all in these paragraphs, and it's so confusing. And if they start taking that out, things would be much simpler. I still challenge the wording of what they're saying. But thank you very much. I'm just one of the little peons that's always listening and reading.
Thank you much.
I would like to know exactly what this special call meeting is all about. But it got to be something very important. But I guess I just have to wait like the other people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It says North Carolina law prohibits any person under the age of 18 from willfully and intentionally possessing and carrying a handgun unless the minor, one, possesses the handgun for educational or recreational purposes while supervised by an adult who is present, or two, is emancipated and possesses a handgun inside of his or her residence. So a young person can be emancipated from his or her parents, and they'll be legally and lawfully allowed to have a handgun. And the third one is possessing a handgun while hunting outside the limits of an incorporated municipality and has written permission from a parent or guardian. So that means that they can actually be hunting on their own as long as they got a letter or note from a parent or guardian giving them permission. That's interesting. There's no minimum age requirement for possession of rifles or shotguns in North Carolina. And that's what I was talking about. If a grandparent gave an infant a shotgun, of course, they won't hold that shotgun until they are able to. It is a misdemeanor for North Carolina for any person to knowingly permit a child under 12 to have access or possession of a custody, to have access to or the possession, custody, or use any manner of firearm, whether loaded or unloaded, unless the person has permission from the child's parent or guardian, or the child is under supervision of an adult. So that's interesting. So that meant that, so at 13, it's a different story. But yeah, so we now got a gap between 13 and 18. Additionally, North Carolina prohibits any person from causing or encouraging or aiding a minor less than the age of 18 to possess or carry, whether openly or conceal, any firearm on educational property. Moreover, the subject is very limited exceptions. North Carolina imposes a felony on any person who sells, offers to sell, gives, or transfer a handgun to a person under the age of 18. Federal age restrictions impose stricter limits. That's interesting, because I do know of a lot of folk who would give their minors guns, and again, it don't be in their possession, but it's known that at some point that's your shotgun or something of that nature. So I do know of that to be a fact. Now, whether that is legal now, after reading this, sounds a little bit, but again, it's never really in their possession. We never really have access to it. It is a conditional promise based on their reaching a certain age or whatever that is. So I don't know. Let's see here. I want to say good morning to those who've tuned in thus far to WNCR-TV Now. And thank you, Diversified Ministries in His Glory. We are Manly, Deborah Gunner, for sharing the Facebook Live video this morning. Good mornings include Gwendolyn Swain, James Bullock, Irma Maxwell, Gloria Brake, Deborah Gunter, William Manley, Betty Archambault, Deborah Manning, Alice Bailey, Candy Staten, Allison Williams, Afrida Perkins, and Vernice Harris. Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to WNCR-TV Now. Today, between 1 and 3, they'll be giving the Chief of Police a retirement celebration there at Rocky Mount City Hall, my understanding there. So that is going on today, as he is leaving Rocky Mount, North Carolina as a chief, and will be going to North Carolina A&T as their chief. So congratulations to the chief in his newfound assignment here in North Carolina. 10 more minutes before we get up out of here this morning on WNCR-TV Now. Now is news, opinions, and weather. Let's take a look at the weather. It was already hot this morning. I was telling somebody it is yet hot. Today, look at it. Temperatures around 91 degrees. Currently, it's 82 degrees on the outside. Lows on the night around 77 degrees. Chance of rain on Friday with highs near 91. Saturday, chance of rain at 55% with highs near 91 again. And for Sunday, a 40% chance of rain with highs near 92 degrees on Sunday. So yet we're in those hot days. I tell you, August, September, October can't get here fast enough, because this weather that we've been having is crazy. I was telling somebody, I hate to see hot weather, as that ultimately leads to higher utility bills, and I don't want to pay no higher utility bills. Okay. So don't even want to see cold weather for that matter, because then you're paying some higher utility bills. Yesterday, let me see if I can get this on this thing. It's gonna be a very short video. I was walking. I was walking and riding, but let me make sure I'm saying something factual. But I was walking and riding. Yesterday, I was over in the Southeast Rocky Mount community of Rocky Mount, obviously, and I was on another end of Clark Street. Now, Clark Street goes a pretty distance, but I was on a block of Clark Street that was I don't know what I would call it. Let me just share this video here of that whole situation. Yep, it's there. So let's go there. Well, I thought it would play without me doing that. Do it again. So I'm out here knocking on doors, and so I just decided to go down Clark Street. And obviously, I've been asleep. I've been like sleep like I didn't realize it was this many boarded up homes in 3 blocks. It ain't 3 short blocks, I get it, but still, this right here is like the forgotten area of Rocky Mount. And so that's why I oftentimes talk about targeted development in our community, that you can really, fixing one house amongst what we just saw on the air a few moments ago is not going to be as impactful as getting and assimilating control of those parcels on that section of Clark Street and really rehabbing that whole entire blighted area, right? And so that is my thought process on it. Of course, shared thoughts of many people throughout the community as to what do you do. But I don't think that we should at any point allow conditions to be what they are today in such a strong number of blighted blocks, right? And I get it. People have financial wherewithal they don't have the financial wherewithal to do it. Or in many cases, though, I'm not quite sure if it's the financial wherewithal. I actually think it's just, I don't want it. I don't want it. Don't know how to get rid of it. No one else wants it, or whatever may come across people's heads. And so then it becomes what I just showed you a piece of a video of. And so I think we have to be very intentional and very deliberate about changing the appearance of what communities look like. Because I think when you change the appearance, also you may involve and start changing attitudes, changing behaviors. I do believe that your environment has a lot to do with how you think and feel in in any situation for that matter. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But I do think that we certainly need to really look at it. So I'm going to play that one more time here this morning. And so, again, this was just one area of Clark Street. Of course, there are other areas as well. And again, this is when I was talking about you can't do a little bit over here, a little bit over there, and think you're going to make a meaningful impact. You literally got to take this block in particular. And I guarantee you that the residents on that street will greatly appreciate the targeted effort and development to get a community livable, because right now those homes are not livable. If it was one and the rest of them are good, different story. But when you've got that many on one side, it's just great work to be done. That's all I can tell you. Great work that needs to be done in on that street. And it can be done. That is the reality, is that it can be done and it needs to be done. And as someone asked me the other day, I said, what is your plan for Ward 3? And I tell everybody this because it's the God honest truth. It's the God honest truth. And they said, what is your plan for Ward 3? I don't have one. They said, well, why are you running if you don't have a plan for Ward 3? Because I personally believe that while I have many ideas about, I talk about them on the airways and this, that, and the third, what I do believe is that in order for Ward 3 to prosper and grow, it must be and led by a people plan. And so if anybody asks, what is Bronson plan? So he don't have one. He has the people plan. And the people plan is we're going to sit together on a table in a group and all this kind of stuff. And we're going to talk about the amazing possibilities. Then as your next advocate for Ward 3, we'll go back and say, what do we need to do to get possession of these properties? Because such and such believe we can do this, such and such believe we can do this, and and we're going to do it at the end of the day. But it's only going to be accomplished by being sure that all walks of life, whether on Clark Street, Tiger Street, Branch Street, Green Street, you name it, Dunn Street, Tessie, I don't care where you live, that we really say, especially if we're tired of board up and blighted housing, say we got to find the money. And in my conversation, that is, we can find money for anything else. So let's figure out how we're gonna find money for this. Caller, good morning. Oh, missed that phone call. And that is my thought process with that. It has to be a community-led conversation and action plan. It's almost like taking the Habitat for Humanity approach, where you have sweat equity and skin in the game and all this kind of stuff, because you're then taking part of transforming your community. Too often, I think people go to areas and say, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and da-da-da. And say, wait a minute, we don't want that. That ain't what we want. And so you don't get that participation in attempting to do whatever you want to do. We've got to have true conversations with folk. They are the leaders in that conversation. And then I believe a good council person supports those efforts. That's just my opinion. So again, when people ask, what's Bronson's plan for Ward 3? I mean, of course, I got things on my website. You see me talk about stuff. But ultimately, and this is the truth, is that it's going to take true conversation with folks in the community, and you will see Bronson Phillip Williams advocating and hopefully delivering on those things, because I believe in having relationships with all seven council all six other council persons, not beating them and slapping them upside the head, but respecting and valuing them as individuals, and hopefully helping them to see, if they don't already see, the great importance of really delivering on what people say they want and not what we as elected folk say we want, if that makes sense. That's just me, okay? Anybody else could be doing something totally different, and that's going to be them. But my approach to things, I think, is way better when you have community buy-in and not a leadership dictation. I'll see you tomorrow, similar time, and maybe a little earlier tomorrow, to do it all over again on Wncr-Tv Now, as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. It's Wncr-Tv Now. And don't forget to check out Pop's Diner from 11 until 6 p.m. today.